podcast excellence since 2005. This is the King of Podcasts radio network, kingofpodcasts.com.
Comcast is reportedly getting their cable channels ready to be spun off. More like getting sold off.
The King of Podcasts radio network proudly presents the Broadcasters Podcast. Here is the King of Podcasts.
Welcome to the program. This is episode 358 of the Broadcasters Podcast, and thank you for listening in. This is King of Podcasts here with you, putting this program together each and every week since 2018, since January 2018, as we do this, and enjoying every minute of it. And if you listen to this program enough, especially during the holidays, you know that we get to the point where the corporate companies, the big media establishment, they don't make Christmas a very happy time of year because there's always layoffs. There's always some changes going on. Preparing for the new year, it's not like it's a new growth strategy or trajectory. No, they're just going to go ahead and cut away and start making some drastic changes because the digital disruption continues to haunt them and mar over them what they're doing. Their streaming services are not making enough money. Their traditional sources of revenue with advertising or network and cable television are not doing well. They continue to erode. And, you know, something about when you have certain things that happen with your news media. And let's just say it like this. When a news media is losing its ratings, however they're losing their ratings, and it might be going on for like this for a while, you know, it's happened at various networks, right? CNN, they took Warner Brothers Discovery, their parent company, when they were dealing with some issues. CNN and their streaming service went away. Then they also had hundreds of people get laid off as well. And the thing was that, what are you going to do with them? I mean, right now, they have been taking out quite a few people and trying to go and dwindle down all these news divisions. And again, this is also the common theory, the common practice of all these newspapers and magazines. But with television, you really can't just do open AI and ChatGPT it to change everything up. You still need human components to be in front of camera and reporting or giving an opinion or narrative. You got to have that. So more importantly, television and radio still have a purpose without AI being necessarily directly involved, which is good. But the problem is that we see what network and cable TV, that they have a purpose and they can get an audience. But the thing is that it's only various certain things that will get them an audience. So for the news side, you know, if it's during election season or any other political stories that really get a whole lot of press, that's what usually will spur up the ratings for some of these networks. So during election night, of course, all these networks got a boost in ratings, but some of these did not. They took a tumble after this. So Comcast now is in the latest iteration of deciding, well, we're going to do something with our networks. This is almost like something what Viacom would do. They're going to go just offset their networks, the ones I'm going to list right now, into a separate company. But there is a little attachment to this that really tells you this is not a spinoff as they're reporting, because of the association that is no longer applied to a couple of these networks. So let's talk about it. I'll take with first of all, I'm going to take on the Economic Times because they give a pretty good synopsis. Comcast is taking a dramatic step to reshape its business in the face of a rapidly evolving media landscape. They're exploring a spin-off of its major cable networks, which include CNBC, MSNBC, and Bravo, into a new shareholder-owned entity, sparking speculation about the future of traditional TV. Now, in this list, you also can include Sci-Fi and USA Network. So all the cable networks will be moved into their own company. Meanwhile, Comcast will still have their platform for streaming, which is Peacock. They want to streamline operations, separating the cable networks from the core business, including internet services and a streaming platform, Peacock. Analysts are suggesting that the spin-off of the cable properties could lead to easier divestitures, aligning Comcast with other major players like Warner Brothers Discovery and Paramount Global, who have also adjusted their cable strategies recently. So Comcast is doing well with their broadband and streaming businesses. They also have their own cable service, right? But yes, with CNBC and MSNBC, the real caveat is that the NBC brand will no longer be associated with either of these channels. So this financial channel, CNBC, this news channel, MSNBC, they would have to restructure themselves. They would have to be changed. And any kind of resources or assets or budget that was brought in by NBC News, it's gone. They go away. And then what are you left with at those networks? You have a number of people that are on these networks that are being paid millions of dollars. They're going to be laid off. Either bought out of their contract or their contracts will go ahead and lapse and they'll be done. But it's obvious that they're going to hope that somebody's going to go and come on in, buy these networks off of them, and that'll be just extra cash for them to go ahead and reinvest into their streaming services and their businesses overall. Mike Cavanaugh, the president of Comcast, emphasized that it's still in an evaluation stage, but it's considering its strong balance sheet and assets for potential strategic decisions. So they want to do this here, and they're following suit with their other companies that are out there. So they are saying that Peacock right now, the streaming platform, is showing significant strong growth. They've added 3 million subscribers in the third quarter. Now there's 36 million subscribers. Revenue surged 82% year over year to $1.5 billion. They had the Olympics over the summer, NFL, and shows like Love Island to help boost their subscriptions. Comcast is also open to partnerships in the streaming market, but remains cautious about mergers and acquisitions due to their complexities. So we know that they already attached themselves with putting bundles together for Comcast subscribers, where Apple TV Plus and Netflix have been added into a package there. Meanwhile, Hulu, Disney, ESPN have their own package of their own. And then Max is also going to another package. We talked about it a few months ago. So Comcast's strategy going into 2025 is that they think there's broader trends in the landscape where streaming dominates and traditional cable continues to face mounting challenges. Now, AP talks about this and wanted to go through and break down what would happen with this. So again, in this corporate reorganization, 2 TV networks with CNBC and MSNBC no longer any corporate connection to NBC News. Done. Let's also mention Golf Channel also is in there, and E Channel. Those are all channels that are part of this that are all going to get pushed off. Mark Lazarus is the chairman of the NBCUniversal Media Group. He's CEO of the newly formed company of cable networks, temporarily dubbed SpinCo. Cesar Conde, who is NBCUniversal's news group chairman, has oversight of CNBC and MSNBC, will lose those networks from his portfolio. He will still be in charge of NBC News Now Streaming, Telemundo, and the news operations of the NBC-owned local stations. So the future is simple. Will they be able to even keep their name at all? Because right now, NBC's staff and studios are in Rockefeller Center in the same offices as NBC News. And it was unclear if they're going to have to remain or move elsewhere. Again, we don't know what's going to happen right now, where they get everything set up, but that's what's going to happen. The network has seen a dramatic drop in viewership since the election. And it's common that news networks appeal primarily to one side of a political divide, lose viewers when their candidates are defeated. History shows most for return, and NBC executives anticipate that. But the problem is that at this point in time, they can't wait for those viewers to come back after some kind of animosity they might have with that network, and then go and come back and return to retain the audience. You know, at this point, Comcast was looking for any excuse to go ahead and start divesting some of its properties and letting some of it go to take off their bottom line. That's what they're worrying about. So we don't know. Very serious issue. Now, they are trying to go ahead and spin this around and say this is going to give these businesses a chance to go ahead and get future growth. And that's what they're trying to go ahead and say with this. Comcast Chairman and CEO Brian Roberts said that when you look at our assets, talented management team, and balance sheet strength, we're able to set these businesses up for future growth. This company will be ideally positioned for success and highly attractive to investors, content creators, distributors, and potential partners. Right. They're not talking about doing anything internally within the networks, that they're going to have growth, but it will not be through them. They'll find someone to go and take them over. That's what they're going to do. Now, Comcast expects the spinoff to close in about 1 year by the end of 2025, contingent on final approval from Comcast Board of Directors, as well as a satisfactory completion of SpinCo financing, receipt of tax opinions, and receipt of any regulatory approvals. Now, also what they're going to talk about here is that SpinCo has generated approximately $7 billion in revenue, according to Comcast, and that they will have the same dual-class share structure of Comcast as it will have its own dedicated board of directors. So I guess for stock purposes, they're going to be their own separate entity and publicly traded, I guess. Because what I don't hear anything about all this is that, are they going to do anything in terms of investing internally or investing in content on their own? They're saying they're trying to set up partnerships that are going to be coming up, and they might be these same partners that will go ahead and take over these stations soon enough. That's the other part I look at this as well. So with this story, there have been a couple of stories that have come out to really give people a little bit of pause of what's happened. TV News Check comes out with the fact that this may be a signal to the media industry for necessary change. So we said Paramount and Warner Bros. Discovery already did this kind of deal before. One of the major corporations that have not done this yet is Disney, because they haven't decided to spin their cable assets. The company did consider it, and they decided the earnings loss from spinning profitable networks would trump any potential multiple expansion from a spin, but their networks, FX, Disney Channel, and others, are integrated with their streaming platforms rather than NBCUniversal's cable networks are with Peacock, and they're still doing well with those because of the program that they have that are going in through Hulu as well. David Zaslav in the earnings call this month talked about Warner Bros. Discovery and talking about the fact that the industry needs to meaningfully consolidate. If the best content is going to win, there needs to be some consolidation in order to have these businesses be stronger and to have a better consumer experience. We've heard this before. More deregulation, more consolidation, more homogenization across the board. Is that a good idea? I don't know if I like that or not. But these are the kind of issues we have regularly right now. A larger issue that I already mentioned. The fact that Comcast is doing this. Don't be surprised that by the end of the year, we might start seeing some layoffs. We might start seeing some changes where this new company is being restructured. And in order to get it ready for restructuring, it's almost like a bankruptcy or reorganization, that they're going to go ahead and cut down the bottom line, start making the issues where NBC is no longer brought into this, right? And take care of that. But then it doesn't change the fact that these corporations are continuing to go and make layoffs already. There's been a long list already this year, from Paramount to Warner Bros. Discovery to CNN, of layoffs that have been going on. So far this year, Paramount had a 3% reduction in their global headcount earlier this year. And they still have a merger with Skydance Media that's going to be coming up that's going to cause more cuts soon enough. Politico, the website, they're estimating right now 500 journalistic layoffs this year alone. Los Angeles Times, starting in January, cut more than 20% of their newsroom. Time underwent layoffs, Time Magazine, cutting 15% of its newsroom. Lionsgate Alternative Television's unscripted and TV arm, that they had layoffs on November 20th. Associated Press announcing plans to offer buyouts on November 18th. 8% of the workforce is affected. The CW undergoing layoffs November 12th. As many as 35 people will be affected. Scripted PR will be the hardest hit. CAA, Creative Artists Agency, is reducing staff by an anticipated 20 to 30 people in early November. SK Global, they're the people that created the movies Anyone But You and Crazy Rich Asians. They're going through layoffs in November. Less than 20 employees will be affected by the cuts. ABC News, they've already had a round of layoffs October 2024. 75 employees across ABC-owned stations were affected. Disney, 300 people across corporate, legal, finance, communications, and HR, parks, ESPN, and Disney Entertainment Television are safe for now. They already had layoffs back in July as well. Paramount Global, they had a second round of layoffs. 15% of the entertainment company's stateside staff, and cuts were made at Paramount Television Studios as the production company was shuttered altogether. Now CBS Studios is taking over, and we can tell that CBS Studios is very light on staff, very light on budget, because if you look at all the shows that CBS is airing right now, they're all kind of weak. A&E Networks, they had layoffs in August, cuts to Lifetime and History Channel's programming teams. Fox had undergone staff reductions of Fox Entertainment, 30 employees in July. The ITV Studios production company Lifted Entertainment, which produces Love Island, 15 to 20 roles let go. Warner Brothers Discovery also has another round of layoffs across production, business affairs, and finance. A year after a round of layoffs that led to the departure of a number of network executives in the cable business. We talked about that last year. CNN reduces staff by 100 employees, 2.9% of their workforce. Netflix laid off 15 people in their film department as part of reorganization. Marvel had a small round of cuts, 50 employees across their entertainment division. And Marvel Studios in Burbank. We keep going on here. I can go on forever. Time Magazine, LA Times, Sports Illustrated, Shuttering, YouTube, 100 people laid off in January. Pitchfork, NBC News had a series of layoffs in January. Hallmark Media, Great American Media, Amazon Studios, also getting cuts. It's across the board. It's relentless. What are you going to do about it? I got a few more stories to wrap things up. We'll go 30 minutes tonight, but next week, after Thanksgiving, we'll go ahead and start going into the year in media, and we'll start doing our look back at the rest of the year. We'll take some extra comments, a little bit of retrospective, and see where we are with things as it has been. Just really curious where everybody goes and where things are at right now. Let's go on to music. Music being released today, in a single day. There's more music now being released than there was 35 years ago. 1989. Okay? In the whole year of 1989, more music is being released today in a single day than there was in the entire year of 1989. And the story from Music Radar talks about how the music production industry has taken note of the huge number of self-releasing artists. And radio is not taking advantage of it. And I don't know why. They want to rely on certain large artists that are bona fide hits. They'll wait 8 to 12 weeks for those songs to become hits, unless it's somebody they absolutely got to go ahead and put themselves behind. That's just a bona fide absolute star. But other than that, they're going to just take the small amount of groups. That's why they don't even worry about trying to put new music out there anymore. Because they're not playing it. Not playing it early enough. It's not viral by the time they get it. We'll have gone through all that already. I was just saying. So there was a long investigation into the growth of subscription-based software programs. And one of the writers spoke to Will Page, who's the former chief economist at Spotify, and UK performing rights agency PRS for music. And they went on to talk about the media's recent State of the Music Creator Economy report. The overall number of music creators was now around 75.9 million creators, 12% increase over the previous year. And the number is expected to go up to nearly 200 million people by 2030. 200 million creators for music. And the reason for the growth is fueled by a part of the rise in what people call consumer creators. They transform photography and videography. Music will be next. So transforming photography via Instagram, videography via TikTok. Now music will be next. So this report anticipates expansion will be driven by what it calls casual music creators. They'll become mainstream. It will trigger unprecedented widening of the music creator economy funnel. So what does it mean for individual music makers who are becoming even smaller fragments of a ballooning galaxy of creators? Well, for one thing, music tool subscription models, are unlikely to be supplanted anytime soon. As detailed, recurring costs of subscription fees will soon stack up. We already know that Spotify is going to go to super premium very soon. I'll probably get it. But still, it's going to be like the jump in price right now for me. I think it's $23 a month coming up for Spotify. But we're also getting audiobooks, the video podcast. Like, there's a lot that goes into it. I'm still not feeling too bad about it. I'm old enough to remember how much it was for physical music that I would buy every month, so I understand it. Another story that comes in from Sean Ross, who's one of my favorite opinion writers or columns out there in radio. And he writes about the fact that as radio programmers have struggled to find product in recent years, trying to watch streaming for potential hits has been difficult. Whether it's trying to find songs that sound like radio records or figuring out if a streaming or TikTok story is just a short-lived blip. And to now add one more challenge, the available metrics rarely agree. So, for his column, he cross-referenced both Spotify and Shazam's top 200 songs last week with a TikTok Billboard Top 50. He also looked at the top 20 requests of the week from the night radio show Liveline and the songs in the top 10, and any one metric gave us just under 60 songs. So only 4 had a significant story in all 4 measurements, fewer than 20 hits, even 3 of the 4 categories. Requests might seem like an odd mix with streaming metrics. They haven't talked about that much in radio, but that's because stations receive fewer and rarely have somebody to take or tally them. But like streaming, they give an indication of listener interest before radio's ever slower call-out research kicks in. And requests also provide an easier answer to listeners for their question, but are these really my listeners? Right. I understand the part that they say that they don't necessarily go ahead and take a song that might be streaming well and then just push it over to radio. Yes, you make the songs available. Drop them in to your rotation and get word from the audience. Do they like the songs or not? There's something great about being able to go ahead and sample music throughout the day, not hearing the same songs we've heard for years. I'm sure some of you are like getting tired of listening to Hozier Too Sweet or hearing Sabrina Carpenter over and over. Now, while it's been like 7 months behind, or listening to Chappell Roan after all these months, or any Taylor Swift songs, or whatever. It's like, if you did have this part where you could go ahead and go back to trying a song out, letting the listeners hear it, and if they like it, put it in heavy rotation and see what happens. And when he used his filter about what are the 4 songs that have a story in Spotify, Shazam, TikTok, and Liveline requests, 2 are established hits, 2 are songs that are already on radio's radar, and although one really only got there this week, it's Billie Eilish's Birds of a Feather, which has been number 1 in radio, Down with a Smile, Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars, APT with Rose and Bruno Mars, That's So True, Gracie Abrams, which, okay, Gracie Abrams, that song is just making its way into the charts. Like in the UK, the song hit up top 5 just now. Only a couple weeks, but it's working their way up. And there's other songs they said that were outside the list. There's Billie Eilish's Wildflower, which is charting everywhere else. Gigi Perez and Sailor Song, also charting everywhere else. Miles Smith's Stargazing, which has already been out there for months. I don't know if we can go back to that now. Tate McRae, If It's Okay, I'm Okay. Well, she's already got another song. She's moving on from it. Timeless by The Weeknd and Playboy Cardi. Tyler, the creators like him off his new album. And yeah, it's like, what a wild mix of trying to go ahead and use the call out to maybe see if that was going to work at all. I don't know. It doesn't really work for me. It's missing something. Final story as we wrap things up. The FCC, we talked about this a few months ago about zone casting. And the FCC now is final zone casting rules have been approved. This is before the FCC makes a change coming up at the start of the year where there'll be a new commissioner. Jessica Rosenworcel will be dropping, and she'll be resigning as chairman. Brendan Carr will take over as the new chairman under the new administration. So we talk about geo zoning. So FM broadcasters can now use booster signals to originate program content for up to 3 minutes of each hour. So according to the commission, they say that boosters can now provide customized programming to better reflect the interests of specific zones. Right. So they can add particular programming targeted to an area on these other stations. They're actually able to go and do this part, geo-targeting. And supposedly it's going to be something good about this, but there's the whole out they're going to do right now. There'll be new technology being allowed, and zone casting will now have applications being put across, and they'll be using it in various markets very soon. So there you go. A new way to get advertising out there to the right people, geo-targeting, which has been on the internet for years. But anyway, that's what they're going to do. That's the show. Like I said, very lightweight this week. I'm going to go watch Gladiator 2 this weekend. If I get some time, not this weekend, but like next weekend probably. If there's nothing else to go and watch, I'll probably go watch Wicked. Like, I mean, what else am I going to do? We'll go and just see how that all goes. But, like I said, You're in Media, we will begin doing episodes about that very, very soon. And there's so much to talk about anyway. After the strike, all the other changes that were going on, streaming services, the music changes we had this year, quite a year in media. We will start our comprehensive look back at the year in media 2024. Come back for another Broadcasters podcast. Remember, the content is king, and the control of your content is in your hands.